Welcome to Menopause and Miracles, the podcast for women who know there's more to midlife than simply getting through it. Together, we unpack the real stories, expert advice, and everyday moments that help us navigate menopause, rediscover ourselves, and step into this season feeling stronger, more confident, and a whole lot more alive. I'm Suzanne, your host and your midlife wingwoman, and today we're talking about what happens when you realize your life needs to change, but you have no idea where to begin. Because sometimes midlife feels like starting over, a career changes, a relationship ends, your kids grow up, your identity shifts, your confidence takes a hit, or maybe you simply wake up one day and realize, I don't know if I want to live the rest of my life this way. And my guest today knows what it means to begin again. This is episode 65. No one is coming to save you, and that's good news. In 2017, Donna Kreisler weighed 350 pounds, had just $300 in her bank account, was single, divorced mother, and wasn't happy. She knew she needed to change her life, but she didn't know how. And today, she has lost 150 pounds, built multiple seven-figure businesses, helped more than 10,000 people transform their mindset, finances, and lives, and is the author of No One is Coming to Save You. But this isn't really a story about weight loss or money. It's a story about what happens when you decide to rebuild your life with purpose. So today, we're talking about starting over, self trust, personal agency, money, identity, and the courage to just take the first step when you can't see the whole path. Donna, welcome to Menopause and Miracles.
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure. I love your podcast, and it's really a privilege to be part of it.
Thank you. It's such a privilege to have you here because I know there is so much to your story, and that's what I love when women come to midlife. We've got a story to tell, and I
Yes.
love to use this platform to share it with other women to know we're not alone. Hey, I feel like that too. And it's inspiration. And I know your story has a lot of that. So, for our listeners to get to know you a little better, just off the cuff, where are you on the midlife meter?
So, number one, I'm 57 this month. Actually, on August 30th, I'll be
I'm an August
57.
baby. Yes.
Yes. And I believe that I am after the menopause version of my life because I was very overweight for a long time. And as you know, weight has a huge effect on hormones and our bodies. I didn't really understand the impact, but I lost my period when I was very young because of the weight gain, not really understanding it. And everyone told me, don't worry, it'll come back, and it didn't. So I ended up starting actually pretty young at 40. I about 11 years ago, I ended up losing the weight. And that's really when I realized that I had already gone through menopause without really understanding that my body had already hormonally transitioned.
Yeah. And it's kind of like in hindsight to go, oh, that symptom I was feeling, or
I didn't
that,
know.
yeah, to get all the information after the fact. So, to
Because there
very,
was so much going on that I was like, I don't know. Some people were telling me maybe it's menopause, maybe, and I had so much going on, with
yeah.
such a huge weight gain loss, um, that I wasn't really sure. But after hindsight, of course, yes, I do know now that that's what exactly I was experiencing.
Yeah, so just starting there with either what you were experiencing or the weight, what kind of care did you, or when did you start to seek some care for yourself to say, hey, like something needs to change or I want to change?
I have to tell you that I do a lot of podcasts. I talk to people all the time, and I'm very honest in my path. I don't see that one moment. There were many, many different moments that I can talk about. It wasn't a linear line. Things for me, I was very challenged. I can tell you that when I was 30, I had my daughter. She's 26 today. And I remember very distinctly coming home one day. I got divorced when she was really literally 3 months old. So, and I never got alimony. My parents were always struggling, and I didn't go to college. So I saw life at a certain angle. At 30, I was very, very unhappy. I didn't
Mm.
really understand everything that I understand today. But I remember one day coming home, I drove a car that had no air conditioning. It was very hot out. It was a very old car. And I remember having to open the window, and the window got stuck. And I had a little baby with me and some bags. And I came home and I was like, how am I going to get up with all my bags and the baby and all this? And finally, I got up, and then my electricity was shut off because I didn't pay the bill.
Mm.
And I remember that very distinctly because it was a moment where I sat on the curb. I came down to get more of my bags, and I just cried. And I thought, this is not how life is supposed to look. I don't know how it is supposed to look, but I definitely believe that I and every woman deserves more than this. I was in
Right.
toxic relationships. I was, numbing my pain with food. I was in debt. I was living paycheck to paycheck, and that it was just my career path was not what I wanted. I was
Yeah.
always making money to survive, and I had jobs, but I wasn't waking up in the morning running to work. I wasn't really passionate about anything. And I really decided that day that I knew I had to change something, but I didn't know what and I didn't know how. And when you don't have guidance and you don't really have mentorship and you don't have money, it's very easy to tell someone, you need to change your life.
Mm.
Okay, how? So
Right.
that's where my journey began. That was 26 years ago.
Yeah.
And I have to tell you that for me, at least for 10 years, I really didn't know what to do. And I did all kinds of different actions that really were not beneficial to my life. And I struggled with my weight. I struggled with my work. I struggled with finances. And I was pretty lost and miserable.
Yeah.
And after about 10 years of trying to look for answers, I realized that I was not looking in the right place. I was not accountable to myself. I was a victim. I was looking for everyone to blame. And I realized that it wasn't getting me anywhere. And
Mm.
that is another milestone that I remember, which is about 15 years ago, where things started a different path because I became very aware. That was my first major breakthrough, owning my life, being accountable, looking at, doing inventory. Like, okay, I'm
Mm.
here and
Yeah.
I own it. I got here. I made the choices to get here and I don't like where I am and I need to take
Hmm.
responsibility and make some changes.
Yeah. And I like how you said, I made choices that got me here, even if, consciously or purposely, it's not, it's like we're such a, sometimes a product of our environment, right? If your environment is only showing you one thing, or you're only, like you say, seeing one thing. And I just want to acknowledge, I'm sure, like if I had all of that on my plate, divorced, a new baby, how do I make all those things are a lot for one person. And especially the mother is the nurturing one. So a lot of different care than a dad goes towards the baby. And, but I like how you described you took us to a typical day at that point. And for anyone that's experienced that, I know they can tap in to what that feeling is like. I never want to be here again. And then the how, and just being open or self-aware. It sounds like you felt stuck, and like you said, there wasn't a particular moment. So what little pieces kind of brought you that awareness or brought you to change a different course?
So I have to tell you that today I talked to thousands of women. And I realized like the tribal thing, I hope that women will come together and learn from each other, heal each other, because we have the power. And I can tell you that for me, I realized that no one was coming to save me, like I always say.
Mm.
And I thought, how am I going to get out of this situation? I have to learn new things. And I started to learn a lot about mindset and a lot about science. And I was blown away because I realized that we are a product of what we're conditioned to. Good, bad. You grow up in a home with parents that do the best they can. I love my parents. They did the best they could, but their best didn't do good for me. And learning from people that you're around all the time you called it society before, but your close family, your friends, and of course your associations, the people you hang out with the most, they have a huge impact on our lives, and I didn't realize it at the time.
Mm.
I started to understand how the mind works and how habits are created and how we condition our muscles, our memory muscles even. And I realized that my dad and mother got divorced. It was a very, very hostile divorce. And for many years I felt that I wasn't worthy. I felt that I was abandoned. And that created for me and a lot of women that I've talked to the same kind of patterns of uh, really having issues with self-worth, self-esteem, and abandonment issues with men. And I didn't know how much it would impact my life at that time, but I started to feel like, okay, hold on a second. I'm starting to understand there's a method to the madness, that if I had this conditioned and it was part of who I was, programmed, I could change that if I knew how. I didn't know how yet, but I started to learn about it. I studied a lot about psychocybernetics, the power of thought, the power of habit, affirmations. I studied a lot of mentors, and I have to tell you that I self-educated myself. I promised myself, I was working 12 hours a day, single mom, no alimony, and I was struggling, but I said, you know what, Donna, let's focus on what you can control. We as women, we put so much focus on everything and everyone. And a
Mm.
lot of times we forget to put the focus on what's important, which is us, ourselves.
Right.
And I said, I can't do maybe everything I'd want. I can't go to seminars. I can't afford it. I can't get a coach or a psychologist. I couldn't afford it. But I can do this. And this is what I'm going to focus on. I'm going to start reading every single night a
Mm.
chapter in a book that I'm recommended by people that I think have success. And we can define, there's a lot of different realms of success. But I started to look at different parts of life, relationships, money, um, career paths, and things that were hurting me. My relation with my
Right.
body, and I started reading. And I can tell you that I did that for 2 years, every single day. And that created a lot of change in my patterns, in my habits, in my thinking. I remember very distinctly about 15 years ago, um, really talking badly to myself. And I don't know if people that are listening right now can resonate, but are you listening to what you're saying to yourself all day long? I'm around women all the time, and I
Yeah.
and I and I sometimes I can't stop. I have to say something, but we're so hard on ourselves. I'm not
Yes.
good enough. I can't do
Yes.
this. I'm not going to be able to do this. I'm not going to be able to have. And we create more of what we focus on, whatever we put light on. And
Right.
so I started to get more aware and acknowledge, like, wait a minute, what am I saying to myself? What am I doing? Like, what are my habits? And I started to realize I had some really bad habits and I had some very negative speaking to myself.
Mm-hmm.
And the more focus I put on that, the more I started to catch it. Because it's not
Yeah.
a, it's, I have to tell you, Suzanne, people think you can go and do a certain thing for 30, 40 years, and then you realize that you're like, okay, I'm going to change it. It doesn't change overnight. It takes time, and we're so hard on ourselves. If we don't see a change immediately, then we're
Right.
giving up. Then it's not
Right.
going to happen. We don't believe in it. If you condition yourself to do something for 30 years, it became a behavior, became a habit,
Right.
became a thought pattern. How do you think you're going to change it in 30 days? You need some time,
Well,
especially for
and it
stuff.
also took 30 years, like you said, to have that really strongly ingrained. And
Yes.
that's what I was going to ask you, is kind of what you were telling yourself then, which you shared some things, right? That abandonment, I'm not worthy, which I
Mhm.
think many women can relate to, or, in the workforce, they call it the imposter syndrome. And then as you're reading, like, what are some of the first things that you remember that were renewing your mind and you were newly telling yourself?
Well, I have to tell you that first of all, I realized that I was telling myself these things and I was also subconsciously thinking about them. They were already so ingrained, so they became very powerful.
Yeah.
And I realized that I'm going to need to start to change the way I say things, even if I didn't believe them, because you said imposter
Right.
syndrome, big thing that I think women have to really understand. When we're starting to change, we are like, but I'm poor, so why am I saying that I'm successful? Because I'm poor. And you have to maybe basically trick your mind. You have
Mhm.
to do some subconscious work to recondition yourself. It sounds a little crazy, And I have to be honest, when I first started talking about these things, doing them myself, I thought it was the biggest BS. I was like, oh my
Right.
God, what am I doing here? But you know what? I have nothing to lose. I was
Right.
at a point where I thought, what can this hurt? It can maybe help, but I have nowhere lower to go.
Well, it may sound crazy, but you feel crazy in the situation that you're in. So you're like, what is it going to be?
yeah, like I have to choose the crazy, but I thought this may work. And I was hearing that these things work for so many people that I looked at as successful. I looked at people that were having the kind of results in their life that I wanted. And I thought, if they're doing this and it's working, hey, maybe I have to give it some time and allow myself to see it change.
Right.
It's not gonna happen overnight.
Right.
And I decided to commit. And I did. For the first 2, 3 years, I just kept doing actions over and over again, repeatedly. And I have to be honest, I didn't see an immediate like boom, oh my God, I woke up and 3 months later I was rich and I was successful. No, 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 no. But I did start to feel shifts. I did start to feel that I was in the right direction. And things got easier in certain realms of my life. And in other realms where I wasn't doing enough work, I still had a lot of challenges. But the work I did was really on mindset. It was being very aware. It was focusing on the things I wanted to create in my life. It was making myself very, very structured and disciplined, creating new discipline that would basically take over. It's sort of like taking the A chromosome and changing it to B.
Yeah.
That's what I
Change.
focused on.
Yeah. And I was going to say, what was, like you said, that your life did not transform overnight, but what was maybe one of the first things that you saw, one or two things that you saw change in your life? Because you said some started to, some did not. What were some shifts that started happening?
I think that the first like 60 to 90 days, I started to feel a little bit lighter and better. I started to see myself in a little bit of a different light that I hadn't seen before. I had seen myself in a very negative manner for many, many years as a failure, as a incompetent. I was also told that by the kind of men that I had in my life,
Mm,
and I believed it. You know, you stick around someone long enough, and they tell you things, you're going to believe it, and
mhm.
then that becomes your truth. But is it? Is it really your truth, or is it the truth that you're being told to that you're there to believe, like, and I started to challenge those beliefs and I started to think I am worthy and I am beautiful and I am uh, good and I deserve a good life. And I started to think, what does that mean? What is a good life? I
Mhm.
started to ask myself very deep questions about what I wanted because when I was younger, I always remember talking about money. I want to be rich. I want to have money. I didn't really know what that meant. I
Mm.
just thought, I believed that I was conditioning myself to say, if I had money, I would be happy, I'd be successful, without really understanding it. And it's funny because a lot of times we tell ourselves these stories, like if I go to Paris, I'll be happy. If I have this income, if I can just make double, I'll be happy. If I found, the if I lost 10 pounds, I'd be happy. Would you really? Is that really where it is? Or are you going to go a little deeper to understand what it covers and what you're trying to really create in your life? I had to do some work and understand like what my whys are and what I really
Mhm.
wanted in life and what it meant to me and what was
Mhm.
important to me. So the first 90 days was really about the feeling. I started to feel more powerful. I started to understanding what my truths were and challenging what I thought were my truths. I believe that the next 90 days after, I started to feel that things were getting easier for me. I don't know if anyone can really resonate. I'm sure they can, but if you think about it, you know how there's things that just you're like, God, it's so easy. Things are happening. When you're in the right place with your mindset and your belief systems, a lot of times things just happen and you're like, oh my God, all this good is happening to me.
Mm.
It's exactly the opposite when you're like,
Mm.
why am I attracting all this shit or negativity or whatever it is? It's it's really about where you are. And when I
Right.
was in a very bad place, I don't think, I actually know I attracted more and more negative and problems and issues, money issues, the wrong kind of people in my life, not only men, the wrong kind of friendships, the wrong kind of just anything.
Yeah.
And more and more I worked on that after that 90 days, I started to feel a shift in the kind of people that were coming into my life, the kind of things that happened at my work, the kind of opportunities that were sort of coming at me. It's funny, I had a conversation yesterday with somebody that she actually said the same exact thing, that she felt that she was in the right place and she was doing a lot of work in her mindset because all of a sudden in the last few months, a lot of great things have been coming at her. And I told her
Sure.
it's not random. It's not
Yeah.
random. When you are in the right place, the energy of the universe has a way of bringing you more of what you're focusing on. And
Yeah.
that is the power of our mind, our subconscious thinking. And I just started to learn that, it's funny because it's like fueling a fire. The more you do and the more you start to see good things happen, you want more. You're like, wow, this is working. And I started to get even more committed to doing the activities like affirmations,
Mm-hmm.
down my personal success statement,
Yeah.
getting disciplined, waking up earlier, doing things that challenged my old habits so that I could create room for new, and doing things that I was afraid of. Even doing them, I call it do it afraid, but do it.
Yeah. And I want to talk to the discipline part because it is not that in the circumstances before you weren't disciplined, because you're definitely doing things to care in the best capacity. And then, like you said, you're really focused on the learning aspect of what discipline is and to get the results that you want and that expansion. And at any point, did you have moments where, because discipline, even in the very positive, takes a lot of energy, mental, showing up every day. So do you have any moments when you just wanted to quit? And when you do, what
There's
do you do
many,
when you
many
have that
moments.
feeling?
Absolutely. So I always tell people, and part of what I learned and what I created in my course to help other women is motivation, it doesn't last. You know how sometimes we wake up in the morning, we're like, that's it, done. I am going to make a change. And I did that many, 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 many mornings, many evenings, many January 1st. I did it.
Okay.
But the motivation alone, it creates a lot of frustration because you get really motivated and you try to do certain things, but you're going against the grid. You're going against very bad habits that you've created 30, 40, 50 years. And so you start something and then your motivation starts to die because you hit challenge. And when that challenge hits, what happens? You give up, you go back to your old patterns and you're frustrated, and now you're mad at yourself too because you said you wanted to do something and you had all the intention and meant it, but now you didn't, and now you're like a failure or you're not doing what you said. It actually takes a lot more energy. I learned very quickly that the motivation alone didn't help me. And for many years, I tried to get really motivated and do things, and it did not work because I kept going back to these old patterns. It was too strong. It's like an automatic. If you have
Mm,
the understanding of how we operate and how we're programmed, Bob Proctor teaches it. It's like a plane. You go on a plane, there's automatic pilot. And even though there's wind and there's weather and there's traffic, and we move away, 90% of the time, a plane is not on course. But it always comes back to that automatic because it's programmed. And
mm,
that's exactly like weight loss or anything. I used to get up in the morning like I'm done. I'm 350 pounds. I can't even close my bra. I need my daughter to help me close my shoes. It was embarrassing. I
mm.
didn't try to lose weight because I wanted to look skinny. I was trying to save my life. I wanted to be
Yeah,
able to get my shoes on. But I tried. I got up with that motivation day after day, and 3 hours later, I was back
it
to eating.
fades.
That
Yeah.
automatic was so strong. The DNA, the programming, the conditioning that I had in me was very powerful. I learned from a very young age to deal with my feelings with food. I didn't really know how to deal with things. I was numbing my pain. People do it with alcohol, people do it with drugs, sex, money. I did it with food and money. I didn't do things that other people do. That was my drug of choice. But
Right.
it
Yeah.
definitely hurt me at the end. And
Yeah.
when I started to learn about the automatic pilot, and that I was trying my best, but I didn't have the structure and the system in place. I had to change the DNA. I had to change the automatic pilot. Otherwise, I would always go up with this great like intention, but the automatic pilot was so much stronger than me. It would take me back to the old habit.
Mm,
And that's where the discipline came in. I decided if I created structure and system and discipline, that it would keep me safe even on the days that I didn't have the motivation. Now,
right.
let's all be honest here. It is not perfect. It's messy. And I hope women can understand it is never going to be 100. You're going to
I'm
have,
like, thank you for saying.
I mean, like we have this thing in our minds. I don't know, maybe because we were brought up on fairy tales and these women that were perfect with it's so it's so not fair because it's not reality. And
Right, right,
it's about having more of the good days and the bad days. And
right,
that's what I look at and that's what I count. I count more of the times that I get up. That's what's going to make the difference. If out of 100, 60 or 70, I'm okay and I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, and 80% of my plan I'm way ahead of the curve. It's
right,
not going to be 100. And so
right.
I try to explain that
Yeah.
there's no perfect lives, there's no perfect people, maybe
Yeah.
in heaven, but not on the earth. You know what I mean? So
No, and
I
it's kind of like you shared with the discipline. It's like once you get this some kind of structure and the system in place, it's the do it anyway. Like do it anyway if you're not feeling like it, do it anyway if you have a busy day and like something else is going to go to the side.
how
It's just
important it is. I always tell people, how important is it to you? Are you willing to sacrifice? And yes, it is a sacrifice, and it's not easy. Changing
yeah.
habits, even when they don't serve you, and even when you know they're hurting you, it's hard. No one's going to
Yeah.
tell you that, and that's why I tell people there's no magic wand. You're going to have to do the work.
Yeah.
And that's why I try to be as honest and real. But the beautiful thing about it is every day we have an opportunity to get up in the morning and make better choices. Not perfect
Yes.
choices, better choices. At
Just
the end of the
better.
day, you don't really control what happens to you, but you absolutely control how you react to everything. That's where your power is. We just give away our power so easily without really understanding it. And I
Yeah.
want women to understand, wait a minute, hold on, get aware of that. That's where your power is. And then make your choice.
Right.
And you'll have that ability to do a little bit different.
Yeah, and I agree. I think that's where most of my coaching is that women are really good at outsourcing their energy, their everything to people in their lives, careers, children, partners. And so taking that back, like you said, taking the power back so that you can make a decision that's healthy for you. And I like as women too. I mean, if you need the model of put your oxygen mask on, so then the rest of your life and relationships will function, you need to give yourself that oxygen, whatever it's going to be, so that you could be your optimal self. Because somewhere when we hit midlife, we know something is going to go, and maybe for you is a little earlier with the weight. For some it is, right? Or some get a right at a really long time with their bad habits,
Yeah.
and then
Never
our
too late. It's never too
yeah.
late. It's never too early. Every one of us is different. And I have to tell you that it's funny that you talked about the oxygen because I talk about that a lot. And I have to tell you that what I've realized is most women don't put the oxygen first because one, they've been trained and conditioned
Right,
to believe that they need to take care of everyone else to feel worthy.
right,
And I try to teach women that to be worthy, you have to love yourself first before anyone else can love you. And
right.
that's the whole thing that you just said, Suzanne, about the oxygen. But it's again like if you think to yourself, if you're listening to us and you think, am I putting the oxygen on before I take care of everyone else? And if you're
Yeah,
not, you have to ask yourself, why am I not important enough to do that for myself first? How can I
yeah,
expect anyone else to do that for me?
right.
And can they?
Well, and it goes back to, like you said, I mean, when you ask yourself that question, why am I not putting my oxygen mask on first? You're going to come to yourself of what
Hmm.
thoughts you have about yourself, whether they're yours or not, that it's the mirror, or I like to say midlife is kind of either it's coming home or coming to the end of myself. All those survival skills that I learned are not going to necessarily continue to serve me. And tell me a little bit about how the book No One Is Coming to Save You came about. I know some people love that phrase and some are like, that's a little harsh, but tell me your story about that.
So, first, I have to tell you, it is harsh, but it's the harsh truth. And I wish years ago I would have realized that there's no one that could save me except me. I would have done a lot more, a lot faster, because, at the end of the day, you get one life and you want to live it. Life is precious, life is beautiful. And it's just, to me, not fair that there's so many women out there that are just surviving and not living. And so I wrote the book to inspire women from darkness to hope and to light, and to show them that if a woman that really basically started at the age of 42, 43 to reinvent myself and didn't do it overnight. And, it took me about 7 to 8 years to get to a place where I became, first of all, successful financially, which is
Mm-hmm.
only 6, 7 years ago. I'm 57 now. I I can be a testament to the fact that anybody can do it at any age, at any time, in any situation, if they're willing to realign, relearn, uh, take really responsibility. And it's a story of how I did it. It's how I did it from A to Z without any masks. It's very honest. It's very open, and it talks about what I went through from a young age, and it focuses really on the steps I had to really reinvent myself and how I found the answers, because I was always told go to the internet. You don't have to go to school today. It's true. You can really learn everything on the
Right.
internet now with AI. So many women in their midlives are scared of all this technology, and I tell people we need to embrace it because it's coming, if we like it or not. I feel that there's a huge opportunity there, and I know that it's also very overwhelming and it's very scary. And so I want to give women a more structured system that is easier to follow, because when I went to the internet, I got lost. I
Mm.
spent a lot of time researching and trying to understand things. But if I would have had more of a map, like I believe in life, anybody, like if you with your
Maps
coach,
are nice.
you know that you have that ability to work with somebody, it makes it easier. It makes it much more efficient, the process of getting from A to B. When you have someone in your life that is knowledgeable, experienced, and can sort of handhold you, and I know there are women that are at a stage that they don't have the ability to do that. And I believe that everyone deserves to have a life that they dream of and not survival mode, because I was
Yeah.
in survival mode for so many years.
Yeah.
And it's not a great way to live,
No.
in every aspect, not just financially. And so
Yes.
I built it really in the hope that anybody could allow themselves to read it, get inspired, and then act. Because
Yeah.
without activity, nothing really changes.
Nothing, yeah, nothing changes. And many women in a variety of capacities can say, yes, some things happened to me that I didn't choose on our journey to get to midlife. But midlife is the point where you get to say, whether it's in your 40s, 50s, 60s, I get to decide what happens next. And I think that's where you and I align. We really want to help women recognize that power that you get to choose what happens next. And I think I'm really big on this podcast as well. You talked about community earlier, about the support. I know I do much better, whether the support is a coach because I want someone to guide me, or it's a community because no, I don't want to do this alone and I haven't been able to. And it's much more fun to be around a
It
group
is.
of people doing the same thing with same goals, you know.
I
Um,
agree.
can give you a high five here and there.
High five.
um, yes. Um, for you, well, I mean, we could take the weight, for example, losing weight. What type of support did you get for yourself? Did you go at it on your own with a trainer, gym, community?
So I tried many different diets. Um, I tried many different types of solutions. Today there's a lot of different things, and I have to tell you, Suzanne, that I believe that it's like different strokes for different folks. I don't judge anybody, and I think that every solution that works for anybody is great. If you can do it with a trainer and dieting, nutrition, great. If you can do it with GLP shots, great. I got to a place where when you're 150 pounds overweight, it is no joke. It
Mhm.
is already a health issue. I mean, extremely significantly obese.
Mhm.
And I tried everything from Weight Watchers to really anything that's on the market. I spent money I didn't have on all kinds of different
I mean,
solutions.
there's so much out there. That's the other part, is you could really get lost because there is so much out there.
And it's
So,
really hard because, for many years I didn't listen to my inner voice, which I talk about a lot with
mm,
women. In your midlife, you get to a place where you need to start listening to your voice, your internal voice, because it's not wrong. And
right.
it's never guided me wrong, or other people that I talk to. I'm like, listen to your voice. Your voice isn't wrong. So I wasn't really listening to myself. I was trying all kinds of things because people, society were telling me, do this, do that. This is the right thing for you. This is the right thing for you. And then I realized that I wasn't going to be able to do it. I didn't want to listen to anyone anymore. I had to listen to myself. And I thought, I'm not going to die like this. I have a
Mm,
daughter that relies on me. She doesn't have a father that really is involved or helping financially. It's going to be me or it's not going to be. And I want to be someone that she can look at and realize that I went through hard things, but I got through them. And I want her to look at that and realize her own power, or not. Or I was going to leave her with a different kind of example that I really
yeah.
did not want to do. So I went and looked at weight loss surgery. I decided that that was going to be the right thing for me, against
Mm,
everyone telling me that I was going to die and I shouldn't do
mm,
it. I did it. Um, I did the surgery over 12 years ago. Usually, when you lose weight in weight loss surgery, people think it's a cop out, it's a shortcut. It really is not. It's
it's a
a
major undertaking.
start.
Yes.
But if you don't really change your habits, you will gain the weight with anything. And I didn't really understand that when I did it. I just thought, I don't know what else to do. And after I checked everything and listened to myself, it felt for me that that was the right solution.
Mm,
And after a year, I lost 100 pounds and I got stuck. I still had 50 pounds that I needed to lose. And I hadn't changed my habits in a
mm.
way that was significant enough to allow me to continue the weight loss. The weight loss surgery, like anything else, will help until a certain point. And that's when I knew I didn't do this for nothing. It was not an easy surgery. My
Right.
recovery wasn't easy. I knew that I wasn't going to let it go. So I made some changes in my lifestyle, my activity, my eating habits, the nutrition part of it. You can get calories in. Like when you can't eat a lot, but you can get food in, you can make the wrong choices and get calories that are high sugar, high calorie intake. And I made some very, very significant changes. I was able to lose the rest of the weight, and I'm proud that I've kept it all off,
Yeah.
which my doctor says is incredible because usually after that kind of weight loss, you gain about 30%, 20% back. And then
Wow.
usually people start going the wrong direction. And I've just been very, very um, disciplined with that part. And I can tell you again here, because if anyone's listening, please understand that it isn't that I haven't gained weight. I go up, but I catch it. I go back down. There's no perfect.
There's
So
no magic pill that's gonna.
it's I have kept it off, but have there been times when I'm up 10 pounds or down? I have. I
Yeah.
fluctuate, but I'm always accountable and I'm always watching, and I'm not manic. I'm not checking every day my weight. It
Yeah.
doesn't dictate to me, but it does.
Yeah.
It is something that I look at because it's important to me. My mental health,
Yeah.
is my physical health. I'm important to me, and so it's something that is a priority today.
Yeah. No, I love that story. And yeah, it's interesting because that was very popular for a while. Now there's the GLP, and there are so many paths to take. And like you said, I love the listening to our inner voice because it never steers us wrong. It tells us this is not right for us. You can research all you want, but that voice really tells us what I think our body, mind, and spirit are knowing that's good for us. And for you, in doing that and just all the other areas you changed in your life, and there's so many, and I know we won't get to them all today, but was there a grieving process at some part of it where now you're this newer version of yourself, you've changed habits? I know I experienced that in midlife. Sometimes when you talk about the food addiction or food shopping, when I anything that I've done to stuff feelings, I realize in midlife when I create this safe, healed place for myself, I actually get to process some of those feelings that I didn't allow myself when I was younger.
Beautiful.
And so I
So,
don't know what that was, yeah, like for you.
so I believe that it's almost like a little bit of a roller coaster ride, like ebbs and flows. Um, I believe that when you're parting from parts of you, bad or good, it really, it doesn't matter. There is a lot of farewells. There's a lot of grieving.
Mm.
Um, Sometimes you don't really realize it, but you lose certain people in your life. You learn, you go in and out of different relationships that don't serve you anymore. I think what you said is very powerful, Suzanne, that you realize that in midlife that you allow yourself a place, a safe place
Yeah.
to feel.
Yeah.
And it's scary because a lot of us don't do that.
Hmm.
And I think that for me, at least, learning to feel and allowing myself to cry. I was taught when I was very young, like you have to be strong and you don't cry. And, I didn't have a lot of choices. I had a little baby. I was on my own. I didn't have anyone to help. And so I created this persona without even really realizing it of this really tough, strong, like I can do it all myself,
Right.
um, because life put me in that place. And I think that midlife for me allowed me to allow myself to feel, allow myself to be vulnerable, allow myself to be weak at times. It's just being like really real and authentic
Yeah.
and knowing that there's a lot of different parts of me, a lot of different pieces to me. It's not all perfect. It's like someone told me a few weeks ago, I was talking to them, you're so perfect. How do you have it all together? I said, I don't. What? I
Are you
don't.
are you listening to this person talking
I,
about all
I
that I've got to do?
don't. I'm a work in progress. I am dedicated. I sacrifice. I am very committed to becoming the best version of myself every single day.
Yeah.
But I have a
Yeah.
lot of work to do. And again, we as women have to realize there are different realms in your life. We see women sometimes walking down the street and they look like they have it all together. You don't know what anyone's going through.
Right.
Please stop
Yes.
believing that fairy tale. Even when
Yes.
someone has a lot of money, it doesn't mean they're happy.
Don't believe the hype. Meaning, yeah,
I mean,
it's
I was just
just
talking, we were talking before we got on the podcast about social media and how everybody looks like they're on vacation all the time and they're happy all the time and they're so successful. And you know what? I'm I'm not a judgmental person at all, but that is not reality. Come on.
right.
And
Right.
so I feel like that creates a lot of pressure on women and it really overwhelms us to think that we're not good enough and we're failing because all these other people are doing so well. I'm sorry. I want to tell
Right.
you that I used to do a lot of motivational speaking. And when I look back today, I realize that when I did all that motivational speaking, it really fed my soul because it made me feel
Mm.
worthy and it made me feel like I was really good because women would come up to me and be like, oh my God, wow, you're so amazing and all that. But did I really help change people's lives? No. Today,
Mm.
my focus is on motivating women to act on their own behalf and to get the results of their life. I do it every day. I am only sharing my story so that women can see that it is possible at every age. You
Yeah.
know, I was always told it's too late, at 50, starting your own business. I opened one of my businesses is air conditioning business.
Yeah.
I worked for many, many years. And 2 years ago, I opened my own air conditioning business. And I can tell you that in my first year, we did crazy. I mean, 7 figures. And who would have thought, right? No college background, no rich
Right.
parents, no connections. But
Right.
what I created in the last few years was the platform, the foundation that allowed me to create that part of success in my life.
Mm.
And I
Yeah.
work every single day on other parts that need more strengthening, conditioning, I'm definitely not yet where I want to be, but I work every day to get closer
Yeah.
to that. And that's all I can do. That's where I talk about, that's my control. And if you're listening, step one, you don't have to see the whole staircase. Step one
No.
is the step that makes the difference.
The
Doing
step
something.
for today,
Yeah.
because there's only 24 hours, and would I like the whole list to be done in 24
Yeah. We all
hours?
would, but I mean, like, let's be
Sure.
realistic. There's a lot to do always.
Always. What for you, what was a moment when you realized, because like you just shared, for a woman in her 50s taking on an air conditioning business, I mean, when was this, through all the growth that you've done, a moment where you said, I can trust myself now?
I have to tell you a story because it's funny that you said that. So about 7 years ago, I was lecturing and a woman came up to me and said, "Hey, can you help business consulting for a air conditioning company?" And I thought, I'm not a technical person. How would I be able to do that? But I thought business is business, and I've done so much lecturing and so many consulting gigs. I mean, business is business. Yeah, I think so. I can come and evaluate. From that conversation, I became a profit share after doing consulting and then profit share. And I thought to myself about 5 years ago, I thought, I wonder if I can get a license as a contractor, not rent it, not borrow it like a lot of people do, but challenge myself to go and do something that's super scary, super uncomfortable, that I have no strength, like my muscle. I am not a technical person. And I thought, wow, wouldn't it be crazy if I could do it and I could get the license? And I want to tell you, it's a very male dominated industry, air conditioning. And every technician and every installer and even the owners, they told me you're not going to be able to pass the test. There's no
Mm,
way. You don't have the background. And I thought, I'm going to do it. I'm going to try. What do I have to lose? I'm going to try.
right.
I want to push myself. I like to do things that scare me because I feel that it challenges my understanding of what fear is and what else am I afraid of. If I can do this, then what else am I telling myself I can't do?
I love
And
that.
I
Yeah.
started studying and there's two parts to the test in I'm live in California. So there's two parts of the test. One's theory and business, and then the other one's technical. And it's like a 4 hour test each one. I went to the test, the first one, I passed.
Wow.
And then I thought, I'm going to stay and I'm going to do the second one now, 3 hours, and I'm going to do another four. The second test, I failed. And I thought, I went to the window and I said, when can I come back to do it again? She goes, you sure? Don't you want to study a little bit? And I said, I want to come back. When? She goes, you have to wait 3 weeks. I said, put me down for 3 weeks. And 3 weeks later, I studied every single day and I came back and I passed that test. And when you ask me like defining moments, the day I got my contractor's license, I knew there was so much more that I was telling myself that I couldn't do.
Mm,
And I knew that I could really actually do anything I put my mind to if I got that license. And it was very hard. And I'm not a technical person. I said, I am not going to allow anyone ever again to tell
right.
me what I can and cannot do.
Right.
That's when I gained a lot of trust and really realized how much power I have if I put my mind to it, if I'm
Yeah.
willing to sacrifice, and if I'm
Yeah.
willing to expand my bandwidth and my skill set. It will not happen otherwise. If I
Right.
wouldn't do all those things, I would have probably failed.
But
But I
I love that you asked. Let me just, even if it's not out loud, you're really, to me, I get this. You're asking what's possible. It's either tap into the fear or the faith. Like what's possible.
love that.
And that's the part that you talked about when we can only take a step or there's the 24 hours is we do not know what it's going to look like. You don't know you're going to pass the test, but you're also not going to know if you don't try.
Everyone
So,
focuses so much on the fail. What if I fail? What if I fail? And if you focus on that, what do you get? Fail. But if you say,
right.
what if I can? What if I can do it? I think that we need to train ourselves to talk more about that. I do believe that also for me, I went to a Tony Robbins seminar called Unleash the Power Within,
Mhm.
and he trains people on the second day of the seminar to walk on 400-degree coals. And I was like, what? How are you crazy? 10,000 people. And day two, about 5,000 people were not willing to do it. They left. And I was
Wow.
saying in my head, it's really a head game. I thought,
It is.
I'm going to do it. And I decided, what if I can? What if I can? What else am I telling myself? And I stayed at 10 o'clock at night. It was raining. There were all the excuses. I'm cold. I'm hungry. I'm tired. This is craziness. Why do this? I'm going to get hurt. I'm going to have blisters. And
I'm thinking I'm gonna die. That's
I had like my heart was going to pound out of my chest. I thought I'm gonna get hurt. And then I saw these lines, and I saw 5,000 people in line with trainers and all of his staff, and I thought he wouldn't do this. I trust
right,
him. He wouldn't do this if I couldn't do it. And
right.
I ended up walking on the broom. I finished, and I broke down in tears because
Oh,
I released something in me thinking, what else have I been telling myself? The next morning he
right.
started his seminar and he said,
Limitations.
what are you telling yourself that you're afraid of, that you can't do?
Mhm.
Because you were freaking afraid to walk on those clothes. All of you, right? But 5,000 of you did it. And I can tell you, like right here on my desk, you see this?
Mm.
This is
Yes.
a little pocket with the coals that I
Look at
walked on.
those.
it. And it's right here on my desk. And you know why it's here? Because it reminds me, anybody that walks in my office and tells me I can't do something, I look at this and I say, oh, yes, I can. I walked on 400-degree burnt coals. I can do it. I can do
I can
whatever I
do
put my
that.
mind to. It's a mind game. It's training
Yes,
your mind to think differently, even
yes,
when you've been trained all your life to think that you cannot or told you cannot. I'm here to tell you you can,
you
but
can.
you have to build that muscle.
Yeah, and I was going to say with building the muscle, I mean, again, I'm someone who can get easily overwhelmed because we do live in an age of lots of information. The
Yep.
internet's there, everything's there. There's lots of coaches. There's, since Tony Robbins, there's so many people out there. There's us sitting here, right, wanting to help people. And so, I think one, just listen to your gut as a listener, right? Like, does this seem right for me or not? And then start in those small steps. And like you mentioned, the things that you want or that are attracted to who you are start to come into your path. For the woman who says in midlife, I should have figured this out by now. Have you ever had that moment?
I had a lot of those moments, and I still think to myself, God, I wish I would have started earlier. But I always have that inner voice that says, Donna, you did the best you could. You're here now. Focus on the here and now and what you can do from here and now. And
Right.
I have a recommendation and a tip for anyone that's listening to us. There's a lot of voices out there, like you just said, and it gets a little confusing. If this resonates with you, if the midlife wing woman resonates with women, which I think it should and it does, don't expect a quick fix. Follow the show, the podcast, listen, and be stable, consistent behavior.
Yeah.
I think that women don't really understand. We jump around a lot and then we don't understand why we don't see results. If you're going to try something, try it for a certain amount of time. Give it
Mhm.
4 months, give it 3 months, give it 6 months of doing certain work with a coach like yourself.
Yeah.
If it's a course, if it's a book, be consistent. It's something
Consistent.
that we didn't talk about. We don't talk enough about it. But again, it's patterns. And if when you do things like, here and there, and then you're like, I don't understand, I don't have any results because you're not doing enough of what you're supposed to be doing and you're not consistent in what you're doing. And so you're seeing like little buds and then they go like they
Yeah.
fail. So I
It's
do
like a
think right.
dopamine hit sometimes too, the
Yeah.
social media. And so that's not really reality for real results, right? It's a quick fix. But, and even as I think we all live in whatever capacity we're doing, whether you're a Tony Robbins, whether us
Yeah.
sitting here today, listeners, I mean, we do have to do a lot of filtering out. Otherwise, you will be consumed by chaos. And so just shutting some things out, like you said, picking one thing that you picked
We're
reading,
good.
if it's listening to podcasts, if it's taking a course like that you have. And I wanted to ask a little bit, you're talking about, I think, rebuilding with purpose. And I love that. It's not necessarily getting your old life back, it's figuring out what do you actually want. And how does that tie into um, rebuilding with purpose, the financial piece? Like, what do you see the women that you work with and what they may be needing, like in
So
that
just,
area?
like I'm not a coach. I usually refer people that want
Okay.
more to people like you to do more of a personal one-on-one. I have a course called Prosperity Mindset
Yes.
that is the first start. It's like the first drop. When you're starting any kind of change, to me, it starts with your mindset. Most people don't realize how powerful our mindsets are for the good and bad. I want women to be more aware of what they're doing and own it, and then have the ability to look at, is it serving me or not? So when we connect it to money, I always used to train people and I would say to them, if you stop right now and you're super honest with yourself, no BS, and you look at your bank, your checking account, what your status is right now, and you look at that number and you go, yeah, I got a lot of money in the bank. I'm exactly where I think I should be, what I planned. Then maybe you don't need to listen to what I have to say because maybe you have it figured out. Most women, when they look at it, they go, oh my God, oh my God. How am I going to pay the bill? How am I going to finish this? How am I going to finish the month? I don't have enough money here. How am I going to help my daughter? And if that's the situation, I say, you have a certain result. It's a
Mm.
financial result. But that result you created with your actions. You might
Mm.
not like to hear that. You might get mad at me, but you created that result with whatever habits and activity you're doing on a daily basis that have to do with your finances, your income, and your expenses. My dad used to tell me he worked at a car dealership. He used to make $20,000 a month years ago in the 70s and 80s. And there was a janitor that he would make 3,000 or 2,000. Every one of the sales guys were getting money, lending, like borrowing loans from this janitor.
Oh,
So it's not always what you make, it's not always what you spend. It's the combination of understanding how much money you're making, really making. Because I talk to women a lot about budgeting and money, and then they are sort of in an illusion. They are talking about numbers, and I'm like, let's look at your bank account. Let's open it up. Let's look at the truth. We don't like to deal with the truth because it scares us and it's bothering
right.
us.
Doesn't feel as good.
Exactly. But I'd say the first step to changing anything is understanding you created that result. Hey, let's own it. And now let's look at how are you creating it by really dissecting. All of this world is created by science and math.
Yeah,
And it's all mathematical equations. So understanding, some people tell me, I'm not good at math. Well, you know what? You're going to need to learn a little bit about it if you want to control your money. So understanding, wait a minute, here's what I make. Ugh, I don't like that. I'm making enough money. Okay, that's another thing we can talk about it, but that's the truth and the reality of where we are.
yeah,
How much are you spending? Looking at every single thing of what we're doing. That's how you start to evaluate where you're at.
right.
Ugly, I call it truth sometimes, but the truth will set us free. And from there, we can start putting in place an action plan of what needs to be changed. And every one of it's different based
Yep,
on what we're trying to achieve. Putting boundaries, having discipline. In money, it's even more important because a
right.
lot of times we're trying again to soothe ourselves so I can have that Starbucks every day. Not only is it full of sugar, it is also $6, $7, $8.
These days, yes, $6 to $8 for your favorite.
It's all
Yes,
about priorities. And sometimes I talk to someone, they tell me, I don't have enough money to do this, which I think this is super important to their life.
right.
Start looking, I'm like, but this is? Oh,
Yeah,
well, okay, I'm not judging you, but if that is where your priority is, then the
yeah,
result will be exactly what you're putting into it. And
right.
so that's how I start to evaluate those things.
And where can women find that? You mentioned it's kind of like an online, on-demand type of program. Where can they find that?
So I'm very excited because I was looking for a learning platform that's interactive, that makes it simple and easy because we're all so busy, and also something that's easy to digest. I found something beautiful and it is right now being uploaded. In the
Okay.
next 4 to 6 weeks, we're going to launch. What I would recommend if anyone feels that I have value, because I'm all about bringing value. That's why I connected with you so much, because I think you bring so much value to women.
Thank you.
I would love for them to follow us on Instagram, on Facebook. We also have a private group called Prosperity Mindset, which I would love to invite you to as well. And in
Okay.
that group, I'll be bringing in a lot of different experts on a daily basis in different realms of our life. It's a private group where people can learn from other people different sectors of what prosperity mindset looks like
Yeah.
and get uh, more accustomed and more comfortable with things that you need to be doing. And because it's not something where you just do it. You
No,
have
it's a lifestyle.
It
It's a
is a lifestyle.
lifestyle
You
change for
you create it
sure.
and then you have to keep it. It's just like
Yeah.
losing weight or anything else. And
Right.
so if anyone wants, and we of course have our website, there's a lot of different ways, but the idea is with me at least, I'm all about relationship. I want women to follow me because they see that I can bring light into their life. I can give them a different something to look at, something that they can learn from, and
Yeah.
also know that it can happen in their lives too, whatever they're trying to achieve.
Well, your testimony, your transformation is your testimony, and you can help other women, yeah, take their transformation and to their own testimony and lives. And your socials are under what? Are they under your name or a different?
Donna Kreisler,
Okay.
Instagram, you look for Donna Kreisler with a
Okay.
K.
Yeah.
Instagram, Facebook,
Yeah.
LinkedIn, TikTok, YouTube.
All of
And
it.
of course, if you look at donnakreisler.com, and we also
Yes.
have Boss Biz Map. There's when they come and they'll find. I believe that things happen when they're supposed to happen, and if
Yeah.
anyone's listening and they're interested, we're here and we're
Okay.
really. I feel like you and I, and there's other women that I have met that I feel really have the intention of making a difference in this world. I learned a long time ago, my legacy wouldn't be ever to be rich. Being rich is wonderful because it allows me to do my whys. One of my whys is this. I was able to build the course without having a need to make money right away because
Mhm.
I make money in my businesses.
Yeah.
And that is the power and the freedom it's given me to really create what is my real legacy. My legacy is to help thousands of women
Yeah.
achieve their dream life and take their dreams and make them reality, like you. And I think that that's, if I
Right.
can do that, then I've achieved everything.
Yeah, I mean, someone asked me the other day, what's my largest, what's my biggest accomplishment? And, my accomplishments are when a client tells me how I've made an impact, or another person shares that, and then I know that I've made a connection and an impact, and those little pieces are really like, yeah, my biggest
That's what it's
accomplishment.
about. Really, at the end of the day, it
Yeah.
fulfills us because our intention is authentic and we really want everyone to win, and we can.
Yes. Yes. Yes, so many good things. I could keep on chatting with you forever. I'm going to do a little rapid fire and then we will close. And I will definitely put all your social and links in the show notes so people will not miss you. But favorite midlife beverage?
Iced tea,
Okay. Morning person, night owl.
morning person,
Are
definitely.
you in your jammies at 6? I have friends like that. I don't know, but
I'm in my jammies at 9,
okay. Probably with
not
so many
always, but at 9.
businesses. Yeah, so many businesses you have. You don't get the luxury of 6 o'clock.
I have to go to sleep because women, I think, don't think about how much sleep is important. And I
It
learned
is.
that I have to sleep so I can
Yes.
have my energy because I use my brain all day.
It's funny that we have to tell ourselves, listen, sleep is important for you to do what you need to do. Favorite form of movement?
I would have to say walking.
Okay. Love that. What is one thing every woman should know about her purpose?
I believe that every woman should know that she's special and that she's a unique creator of whatever God you believe in, and that
Mhm.
she deserves the best and nothing else. She should settle for nothing less than that,
Nothing
creating that for
less.
herself.
Yeah, beautiful. What's the best advice you've ever received?
Do it anyway. Do it scared.
I'm scared.
I used to say I'm
One
scared
word.
anyway.
Yes, yes, because the fear will always be there, but we have to remember faith is always there as well and is an
Correct.
option.
Yeah.
Um, what is one word that describes your midlife chapter right now?
Serenity.
Hmm. And I think that is it. I don't know. I like to ask people sometimes, but I don't know if a song will come to you. If there's a song that represents your midlife moments right now, is there a song that a go-to
Wow.
song?
There's so many beautiful songs.
Okay.
I'm gotta tell you, I'm going the second time for my birthday to the Backstreet Boys. Their music. So I believe that music heals.
I
I
love
really do it.
that.
And I wanted to say that, it's funny because when I was in my 20s, I didn't need to sleep. And I didn't understand the power of music and the power of song. And I've learned that it's very healing. And
Yes.
so I do try as much as I can when I'm driving to listen to podcasts. I try to recommend to other women, stop following all these celebrities. Listen to other women that can put some motivation, empowering you. Put your time,
Yeah.
yes, put your time in yourself. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the
Yes.
day, like we always say, no one is coming to save you.
No one is coming to see it. And I love that you're going to see the Backstreet Boys. I'm an August baby. I am focused on going and seeing the Foo Fighters this weekend. So that's my, I love a good concert.
I
So,
love concerts too.
uh, well, thank you for being here and reminding us what it really is possible to rebuild with purpose. This has been such an important conversation because I think we often hear the phrase reinvent yourself and we imagine it being like, I have a long 5-year plan or that we expect to snap our fingers. But you have to know exactly what you're doing and you don't because it happens one day, one decision at a time, and it starts much smaller. And so start with a decision today, a belief, a promise that you can make to yourself. one step and then another. And if you like listening to this podcast today and know a woman that might be inspired to take her next step, or just to live with a little more purpose, and want to join a community, where to get some resources, send this to her. I appreciate your like, follow, or subscribe. Leave a comment. And until next time, I'm Suzanne, your midlife wingwoman. And remember, your next chapter doesn't need permission from your last one. I'll see you next time, and bye for now.